what's up, Candy Ken? What's up, Baby J? How's it going?
Not today.
Candy Ken and Baby J.
It's Candy Ken.
Welcome to the Candy Ken Show.
Man, thank you so much for making time.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Ken. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course.
I've got to be honest with you. This is fucking weird. I have. What is this?
Like fake fur.
Fake fur. Right. Right. What are the like? I want to interview you.
Okay.
Okay. So who are you?
I'm Candy Ken.
You're Candy Ken, right? Okay. That's
So I'm like I love like alpha males,
okay.
but I always thought like Ken is like, he's like a little bit of a bitch. Like, I don't know if you watched the new movie, but he's like always the second. Like,
Yeah. Barbie was a bitch to Ken.
Yeah.
Nobody spoke about this enough. I watched that movie.
I hated that movie.
Yeah, she was a bitch,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "Go Barbie!" I'm like, "You're being a fucking bitch here."
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I thought. So I always called myself, well, I had these two friends and they called me always Ken. And then I switched it to like Candy Ken because I'm like the candy version
Okay.
of Ken
Okay.
because I can just do whatever I want.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. Where are you from?
Austria.
You're from Austria.
Yeah. Like Arnold.
Yeah. I know Austria. Whereabouts in Austria are you from?
Tiny town called Bregenz. It's
Okay.
close to Zurich. Mm-hmm. Like not Vienna at all.
Okay, so you're near Switzerland. It's
Yeah.
the Swiss bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
Like Alps.
The Alps.
20,000 people, no homeless. The opposite of LA, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So how did you come here then?
I always wanted to be in social media.
Okay.
And it's, as you know, the game is rigged. So you cannot really make it out of Austria onto the algorithm. So I had to come to LA to make a name for myself, kind
Oh,
of.
really? So you could. So okay. So that's interesting.
When you upload there, it shows it to the people there. So you will never get out of your market. So they keep you in a bubble. So if you want to compete with the best, like Arnold, you have to compete with wherever everybody else is. So
Yeah.
you kind of come here like you do right now.
Ah.
Right? So if you want to make it a name for yourself, you got to come to LA for now, I guess.
Okay. Cool. And are you a rapper?
Used to be.
You used to be a rapper.
Yeah.
That's an interesting life, Ken.
Yeah.
So is your dream guest Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Well, the thing is, once I had kids, everything changed. Before it was all about like being rich and famous.
Yeah.
And I created this whole persona. Me and my wife have 30 million on TikTok.
You've got 30 million on TikTok.
Yeah. So we blew up as these characters. But once I had kids, and this is why I invited you, because I feel this responsibility, especially, and then COVID hit. I have a kid, and now I feel like I used to be like this clown online, but now I have this responsibility to raise another child, and I want the healthiest life for him.
Yeah.
And I started listening to Joe Rogan like religiously every day because I would be feeding him milk or watching him or being in the park. There's so much time on hand where I can not do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta educate myself. So I listen every day. And I have all this information, and I felt this need to use my platform and my following, and because it's kids, it's all kids. So I need to raise awareness for the truth, and especially when everybody is getting fooled and there's all this toxic thing happening in the world. I feel like everything is burning down. So I had the big need to be a part of raising awareness and being a part of the truth.
Okay, that's interesting. Right. So, because I'm trying to piece, like, it's been very busy, Ken. So I'm just trying to piece together. So you were like a kids influencer, basically. So what did you do? How did you get 30 million on TikTok?
We would smash iPhones, record ourselves in like Lambos, going down Rodeo Drive with like fake shopping bags and fake money, and I would create these like over the top capitalism craziness of like a kid's dream.
Wow.
But like always with a very, I always loved trolling everybody online a little bit. That's why I have all this room and all these things, because you're like, well, what's going on here? Like,
so you're kind of like a camp version of Andrew Tate without the raping.
Yes. But also with, well, it's like an alpha male, but it's also not, you can't put me in a box really, because once you talk to me in person, you're very intrigued and like confused. about like what's going on here. Is he a rapper? Is this like LGBT podcast, or like what is happening here, right? So
I'm going to be honest with you. I have no fucking idea what's going on here, Ken. I have genuinely no idea. Like, I've driven to an apartment somewhere in LA. Like,
good.
you know, is this kind of? Am I about to be seduced? Is this? You know, I brought my producer with me, like, just to make sure everything's okay.
Good.
We've got this going on. Like, I don't know. Should I have taken an edible before I did this podcast?
Maybe.
And then we can just kind of fucking stroke the fur together. Anyway, so you were a kind of a kid's influencer.
Yes.
Is that what you would set out to be? Did you want to do that?
No, I never really targeted. Like, I always like to like just create and then find whatever niche comes with it.
Yeah.
And growing up in Austria, I wasn't allowed to wear pink. So for me, wearing pink...
You're not allowed to wear pink in Austria?
No, because you're gay when you wear pink in Austria. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. And you will get... It's not... I would say you get... Kids are cruel. You know how kids are in school, so...
Kids are brutal. How old are you, Ken?
I'm 31.
31. Right, okay. Got you.
So when I went to school, there was no pink, there was no colors or any of that stuff. For me, growing up, now wearing pink was more of a statement, like, I do whatever I want, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not afraid of... I'm that much of a man, I can wear pink and I don't care, kind of. So,
got you.
So this whole room is more of a statement, a flex.
Got you. So you're subverting people's expectations by wearing pink.
But then also I'm like, did they trick me into this whole propaganda thing because they are trying to make all the guys as soft as possible and all the women as masculine as possible?
Yeah.
So now I'm on the journey to still figure out like what kind of man do I want to be and what is a man? But I always had a problem with colors and sexuality. Like I always, like even when the LGBT community took over rainbows, I thought that's not fair because I like rainbows. Every kid loves a rainbow.
Yeah,
you can't take a rainbow and make it a sex orientation. It's not right.
Yeah, I get it. I get it because, you know, you always see rainbows in primary schools, you know. But listen, once the gays take over something, they've got it. You know, and they've taken over the rainbow. Have you ever heard of a comedian called Ralphie May?
No.
Yeah, you watch his bit. He talks about it. It's hilarious. He talks about all of this stuff. So that's really interesting. So you became a children's kind of TikTok influencer person.
Pretty much.
And did you just do that by accident?
Well, I've been on social media a long time, and before it was more like the fashion world. Photo shoots and stuff, and then once TikTok started...
Oh, so photo shoots. So what were you doing on photo shoots? Were you like in front of the camera?
In front of the camera.
And you were what? What were you doing? You were a model?
Yeah.
You were a model? Okay. Wow.
And then, yeah, I always wanted to be famous since I grew up in the middle of nowhere. And, you know... And I always wanted to be rich. Like, that's what every kid, like, growing up, I guess, like, goes for. And then once I got famous and rich, now I found out that it's family is really the key.
Are you rich, Ken?
Of course. Of course. If you wake up every morning and you don't have to go to work, I consider myself pretty rich.
Yeah, homeless people don't have to do that either, Ken. You know, they wake up, they don't have to go to work. But I take your point.
But there's some sort of suffering involved, and I have whatever food I want and a roof over my head. And
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have to work, basically.
Well, I have to keep up the whole wheel, but I have some sort of like freedom financially to choose to do a podcast with you.
And is that because of your social media? Can you monetize your social media? Because how many people do you have on Instagram following you?
1.3 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get 1.3 million on Instagram?
Well, you try to transfer over the TikTok following as much as possible. So, which is not that easy because it's much easier to bring them to YouTube. I have like 3 million on YouTube.
You've got 3 million on YouTube?
Yeah.
And they're all from TikTok?
Basically. They're all kids too.
Like, how old are we talking here?
Well, if you ask anybody between, I think, 12 and 16, they would definitely know me.
Right. So there's 12 and 16-year-olds who are going to be watching this.
Well, my Spotify...
Do your fucking homework.
My Spotify listeners are older. So
How old are your Spotify listeners?
I think more in their 20s and 30s.
They're more in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
You're a fascinating individual, Ken.
Yeah.
You genuinely are. This is, I mean, I'll be honest with you, you're a bit weird, you know. I like the fact that you're just nodding at that. You're like, yes, I am. So this is incredible.
Well, I never wanted to be normal. I hate the whole fitting in and the blending in, and it annoys me that everybody...
I can see that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so this is why...
But you have got to be very careful that you don't become a tool for the propaganda. So right now I'm really trying to figure out if I'm like a Trojan horse in the Matrix.
If you're a Trojan horse in the Matrix, right. Okay.
Because like looking like me, you know, I can... It's... You know, it's like Candace Owen. Like, you can't really ban somebody that sits in a rainbow room, can you?
Well, it depends what they've done, Ken. I mean, if they've done dodgy stuff, then yeah. But look, I take your point. You are a unique man. I mean, you've got. Can we talk about you've got a family?
Yep.
You know, you're not gay.
Nope.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm confused. I'm confused. But you seem like a lovely guy. So. You're in LA. What are you trying to do in LA? You're trying to make... Well, you've obviously made it in terms of social media. You've got incredible following.
At the moment, I'm trying to get out, really.
What are you trying... What you're trying to get out of LA?
Yeah.
Where are you trying to go?
Somewhere with more like freedom of speech, and you know how what's going on in California is crazy. So
what's going on in California? Tell me.
Well, they don't hesitate much when it comes to taking people's freedom away.
Mm-hmm. Hey man, I'm from London. I know that shit.
Yeah, and I have a child, another one on the way.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to get the best education as possible,
Course,
and
man.
I don't want them to wear masks. And
do people still wear masks? I still see people wearing masks here.
I do a lot. They're all over the place. When you go shopping, they're everywhere, and it's a little bit weird for my son to see that all the time.
I can
People
imagine.
that are completely covered up, and who knows if they're gonna bring it back or not. So you know, like when you get a family, everything changes, and your whole perspective on life changes a lot.
Yeah,
and
of course it
when I
does.
listened to your podcast on Joe Rogan, I really felt that when you guys were talking about freedom and about that's why I think it's so cool that you have the trigger pod.
Yeah.
Because I feel like almost every podcast I listen to these days is like triggering.
Yeah.
So it's a phenomenal concept you got there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason that we set it up is because we wanted to talk about difficult subjects.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought it's like, oh, we want to trigger the libs. We actually didn't. We wanted just to talk about subjects that we felt were important, that needed to be discussed, that weren't being discussed or in the mainstream, or if they were being discussed in the mainstream, it was being done disingenuously. These were not good faith discussions. And things are tough at the moment. We're living through very serious times. If you look at what's happening with the war in Ukraine, it looks like the Middle East is going to degenerate into an all-out war, which is obviously terrifying. You've got 2024, the American election with Biden and Trump, two candidates who I think we can both agree are not ideal. Things are hard, and this idea that you shouldn't discuss them or you shouldn't have open and honest conversations is completely ridiculous. Because what we need are open and honest conversations if we are to help turn and save our civilization. I think it's really that important.
Absolutely. And that's where podcasts really come in strong, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's the only source of information that I trust is when I go on podcasts. Because you can't trust the news. You can't trust your teachers. And I mostly you can't even trust your parents anymore when it comes to information and education. And I've learned more on podcasts than in my whole school career.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, I find it very sad the way that we are now and our lack of faith in institutions and in the media. I think it's very dangerous. So, you know, we had a global pandemic. Obviously, it was serious. People died. A lot of people died. A lot of people got sick and are having to deal with long-term illnesses like long COVID. I know for family members who have been very severely harmed by COVID. But the problem is there was so many lies that happened in the pandemic. There was so much disinformation that a lot of people have lost their faith. They've lost their faith in the institutions. So we are going to have another pandemic. That is inevitable. Pandemics happen. They are part of life. And if you've got an entire populace or a significant percentage of them who don't believe in what the scientists are saying, that's pretty dangerous, particularly if the illness is more severe than COVID, which it may well be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's worrying. So I don't know, Ken. I think we're in really desperate times at the moment. Really desperate times, and I think the authorities and the media institutions, they've really, really, really damaged our trust and our faith in them. And that's a dangerous place to be, because if we can't agree with what's true, then you have to think to yourself, then how can you move forward? How can you come to any type of agreement on anything if you can't even decide, for example, that this is Monday or Tuesday, whatever the day is that we're discussing this? So it's worrying times. It's worrying times. Would you ever go back to Europe?
No.
Why would you never go back to Europe?
Many reasons. One of them, there's no freedom of speech, and there's no freedom at all, really. You can't dress. Starts with how you dress, and it goes to how you think and what you say, how you behave in society. There's a lot of control.
Really?
From the state.
In Austria, there's a lot of control.
A lot of control.
Really? Austria?
Everything is traditional. Everything, they take 50% of your income, and especially it only works if you're a worker and not if you're a freelancer. Then it becomes very difficult, and you have to get insurance yourself, and you have to everything, and you need to pay crazy amounts of money, and they will not allow like Uber, or if you're like an entrepreneur or you have some sort of idea. And even I don't know if you've seen, they took Rumble away in France.
Did they take Rumble? I didn't. Yeah. Why did they take? Was it because of Russell Brand?
No, that was after.
It was after.
But the policies just don't align with what they say on Rumble, and it's just a clear sign of freedom of speech being not being in Europe.
They were talking about this at the time of Russell Brand. It's so worrying.
Yeah.
The fact that they're openly talking about shutting down websites, about closing down speech, about censoring people. These people, I really don't understand what it is that they're trying to achieve at times. Because I think they think, and because people go, they're evil, they're nasty. I'm not sure I buy that. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make things safer. But the problem is there is no such thing as safety, Ken. It's all an illusion. This idea that you're going to be able to keep people safe, it's nonsense. You can't keep people safe. Life happens, things happen in life. And this idea that, you're going to stop people from talking, from expressing their views, and that's going to make people safer. It's not going to make people safer. And you're also going to drive certain types of speech underground. And if there are types of speech that you and I would vehemently disagree with, which are openly far right or hateful or whatever else it may be, you're going to give it a legitimacy that it doesn't deserve by driving it underground, so that people go, well, they're scared of the truth. And as a result of that, that's why they don't allow you to express your views. The fact that I find it, sorry, Ken, I find it worrying, although not surprising, that France have definitely banned Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. And that's just, like you said, even if they do, let's say there's another pandemic and there's something that is worse than COVID, and then what if they say the truth? What if they try to warn everybody this time, but they got it out of proportion so much last time that everybody mistrusts them now? So now you can, even when your doctor does tell you the truth, or the right thing to do, you're gonna be like, I don't know. Last time I talked to you, you told me to not go in the sun. So
yeah, well, look, and you can't blame people for that. You can't blame people for that because people are very angry, and they have a right to be angry. A lot of people lost their businesses. A lot of people suffered. A lot of people's relationships broke down. A lot of people lost friendships. A lot of people lost their jobs. The vax mandate was an abomination. The fact that people were coerced into taking a vaccine is horrendous. And I don't know how you recover from that. I think part of it maybe is that the government needs to deliver some kind of apology. They're not going to. We know they're not going to do that. I don't know, Ken. I find it really worrying because it feels at the moment as if society is broken. And as a result of that, it means that everybody's in their little group and we're not talking and we're not communicating and we're all in our little echo chambers. And you go, look, I'm more comfortable with that. Fine. But we need each other and we need to disagree because it's only by disagreeing do you actually figure out what it is that you think. Because you've got stupid opinions, so do I. We all think dumb things. But we need to be around people who disagree with us to challenge those opinions and go, you know what? Actually, what you think is kind of dumb. And let me explain to you. And then you sit there and you think about it and you go, yeah, you're right. It is dumb. I need to change my opinion on that. But if all we're doing is sitting in our own echo chambers, we're never going to do that. And we're just going to split. We're just going to drift further and further away from each other. And these dumb opinions that you, I, and every single person on this planet has will be left unchallenged. And that they will grow and they will mutate and they will get worse. And it's not a good thing for us. And it's not a good thing for society as a whole. So, I don't know. I think it's tough times. It's tough times, But, with podcasts like these and everything else, hopefully we can keep moving forward. But we're in, I think, for very, very challenging times. I mean, if you see what's happening with Palestine and Israel, and things are going to get really, really nasty there. Well, they already are getting nasty, let's be fair. So that's another echo chamber, pro-Palestine, pro-Israel, whatever, dehumanize the other sides. But we'll see what happens.
Well, in the end, it seems like it's about control and power, and I just realized that with these issues that are happening in the world, there seems to be some sort of like that the fear drives. They did it with COVID, they're doing it right now. The more scared people get, the easier they are convinced to do a certain thing. May it be to get a booster, or maybe to be behind Israel or behind Palestine. But if you're very fearful, you're not very rational, I would say.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. I think, but also, Ken, it's very difficult because you say they and you go, who are they? Do you see what I mean? It's. I think more and more it's been made obvious to us that what is happening is it's social media. It's social media that is dividing us. It's social media that is placing us into echo chambers. It's social media algorithms that are promoting the voices that are the most contentious, the most divisive, the ones that are creating most outrage because they drive most engagement. If somebody says something outrageous, it's obvious more people are going to engage with it than if somebody says something quite reasonable. So I think that is the real problem. I think a lot of it is social media. And I don't think we're ready for it. I think social media is driving each and every single one of us insane in its own particular way.
But don't you think it's because they censor?
Oh, big tech. Yeah, and look, there's censorship as well. And
I think on like X and Rumble, I feel like less. Like I can see the back and forth. I can see they make fake things about dead babies in Israel, and then I can see that they also make that on the other side. So it's from both sides. You can see the fake news,
Yeah.
And it goes like back to back.
Yeah.
And there's there's more challenge. Like the ideas get challenged, and there seems to be more of a not like a monologue. When you go on YouTube, there is no like vaccine challenge or Kennedy getting challenged or some sort of like discussion.
Yeah. Look, I completely agree. There isn't. But now you go like, who are they? Are we talking about Google, Alphabet, the company that owns Google? Are we talking about the big tech conglomerate, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, all of these people?
No, I think those are just the forefront, not the elites that, people always like think they like sit down in a dark room in suits and discuss these kind of things. And I'm with you where I'm like, that sounds a little bit more like a conspiracy theory. But I do believe that when you look into where the money is, and who sponsors certain things, and how Hamas gets their money, and how Ukraine gets their money, and when you follow that, there seems to be some sort of like a pattern where it all comes down to specific companies or specific names, families, so-called the elites that kind of like want more and more power for themselves.
Look, big tech are in, and people don't talk about this enough, big tech are in a very, very difficult predicament because they are being threatened with more and more regulation. We've got in the UK the Online Harms Bill. And what they're proposing, I think, and maybe I might be getting this wrong, but it's if they're found to be contravening or breaking this Online Harms Bill, which the government want to push through, they're going to get fined 10% of global profits. 10%. That is a lot of money. And if you are the CEO of Google, let's say, for example, or of YouTube, are you really going to be taking any chances? No. You're going to be censoring every single thing because you're going to be like, I don't want to get fined, however many, like $100 million because some dickhead with an account with 32,000 followers has put out this nonsense, or something contentious which then may later find out to be true. You are not going to take that risk. So again, I have a lot of sympathy for the big tech corporations because now you've got governments breathing down their neck. Justin Trudeau wants to introduce this bill where he asks all podcast streaming platforms like Audio Boom and Spotify and all of these things, all of these companies, to register with the government and give information about their listeners to the government. And then they have to promote positive Canadian activities or whatever else. And I can't remember the specific thing that they're going to want to ask. But that is coming in Canada. In every country in the world, it looks like they're bringing in their own version of the Online Harms Bill because they want regulation. And then you'll ask the government, and they'll be like, "Well, we need to protect children. We need to make sure that they're not accessing hardcore pornography at the age of 12, etc., etc." And who could argue with that? So I think, Ken, I know what you're saying about people wanting to start and maybe control the narrative, and it's these families. Unfortunately, I think it's a lot more complicated than that. And I think it's people deciding to do things whilst not understanding that because you do a certain course of action, we have something called unintended consequences. Like we all do. Like we all do something and we're not completely aware of what the ramifications or the consequences of that particular action might be. And what you're going to see with this desire to keep people safe is free speech is going to be strangled as a result. So that's kind of where I am with it.
No, I agree. That's why, like you said earlier, like we need to challenge each other.
Yeah.
And it's definitely more complicated. And but like, so where do you think those kind of podcasts and free speech is going?
Well, I think I think the worry is, Ken, the real worry for me is that we are. So before, you probably remember this because you're old enough. We had the wild, wild west of the internet.
Yeah.
You know, when did YouTube start? 2005. You could literally upload practically anything to YouTube, and it was nuts. And then this was before monetization, so there was no money in it. You just used to upload stuff, and then things would happen, and people would either watch the content or they wouldn't. But more and more, it's become professionalized, and people put up, and it's become a job and whatever else. And as a result, it's become more regulated. I think what's going to happen as we move forward, the idea of the individual creator, I think we're coming to the end of that particular phase of the internet, the wild, wild west phase, the golden age of the internet, where anybody can become an influencer like you. Anybody can do it. Well, not anybody, but do you see what I mean? No, anybody can do it. I think those days are coming to an end.
In what way?
I think you're going to see more and more big business involved. If you look at the biggest podcasts, with the exception of a few, particularly in the UK, they're all from a particular, the particular, what's it called? Not platform.
Network?
Yeah, network or company, etc., etc.
But doesn't that open up another window where people just go to Rumble and watch there? Because they don't want that. They don't want the big networks.
Yeah, but I think that is always going to be a minority. There's a reason why YouTube is the best, the biggest and best. There's a reason why you're on YouTube. Why are you on YouTube, Ken? It's discoverability. It's monetization. Those are the two big things. YouTube is the world's second biggest search engine. With all due respect to Rumble, and I really admire what they're doing and what they're trying to do.
But what about Joe Rogan? He's the number one podcast, and he's very...
Yeah, but where did Joe build his audience? Joe built
YouTube.
Joe built his audience on YouTube.
But once you're big enough, you just go and you take everybody with you.
Yeah, but Joe lost a lot of people transferring from YouTube to Spotify.
Yeah,
you do, but he's built it back up,
but he was able to stay true to himself, and if he can't interview Kennedy on YouTube.
No. That is a good point.
That is what he stands for, because otherwise he's just one of them and sells out on YouTube.
No, I agree with you. I love Joe. I think he's a hero, and he's not only that, he's a great dude, and I've got a lot of love for him.
And he's still the number one, so there must be a big need. I hear you when you say but it seems like also everybody is fed up and angry, like you said, from the pandemic. So now people have that need more and more, and also that's why people like Andrew Tate pop up, because all the guys growing up, they're I need a superhero, I need somebody to look up to.
Yeah, and look, the reason a lot of people like Tate is because there's not enough fathers in the world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of kids who grow up without a dad.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have a positive male role model, you're going to look for a male role model. And what does a young boy want? He wants excitement, girls, and fast cars.
Yep.
And to be physically dominant. Well, that's Andrew Tate. He covers all of those things. And that's why he is as dominant a personality and as popular as he is. Liberals all around the world wring their hands and go, oh, Andrew Tate, he's terrible. And look, I'm not a fan of his and I don't like him. But the reason he's so popular is because of the world that we've created. He's a symptom of the problem. He's not the problem itself. So it's very worrying that Andrew is as prominent as he is. And it's very worrying that he has the influence that he is, because I don't think Andrew is a positive influence on the world, if I'm putting it bluntly.
No.
I don't think he's a positive influence on young men. There are people like Jordan Peterson or people like Rogan who are positive influences. I don't believe Andrew is. Well, do you like Andrew?
Yeah.
You do? Interesting. Why?
Oh, because he tells me that I need to stop being a bitch. Joe Rogan doesn't tell me that,
Yeah, Joe does.
But
but not.
No, he's a balanced guy.
Yeah, But you need balance.
I know, but you also need somebody like take a football coach as an example.
Yeah.
When you have a football coach, do you want the balanced one that like is like just have a drink on the weekend, or do you need one that screams at you and is very toxic and like is like do more push-ups?
It depends. If that particular football coach ran a sex cam operation, I'd be like, I prefer the balanced coach.
Well, we all make mistakes when we're young.
Yeah, I look. The thing that I have a problem with Tate about is he did things like he bragged about draining men's bank accounts, and now you're going to say that you're a positive masculine role model? Come on, man. The thing is with me and Tate is I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
You think he's a gimmick?
No, I don't think he's a gimmick. I think he's a fraud. I don't think he practices what he preaches. I don't think his vision of masculinity is a particularly healthy one. I think he's very smart. I think he's very sharp. I think occasionally he makes very good points. I don't see a whole lot of integrity in Andrew Tate. That's the most important thing for any man, is to have integrity. And what is integrity is when your words match your actions. I don't see with him that his words match his actions.
Because of his past or his presence?
Because of all of them. I don't think he's a particularly honest individual. If you brag about draining men's bank accounts, can you really then talk about being a masculine role model? If you run a sex cam operation where you say you're going to take 80% of revenue and the girls are going to get 20% if you sleep with them, and he said this on the James English podcast, and if you don't sleep with the girl, then she keeps 80 and you keep 20. That's dodgy. That's a dodgy thing. And to unselfconsciously or self-consciously describe yourself as being a pimp, there's nothing positive about being a pimp. If you have a daughter, which I hope one day you have, I'm sure you would want a daughter. If she had a man in her life and he described himself as a pimp, you wouldn't want that man in her life, would you? No. So I don't, I'm not about demonizing people. This is just what I think. And there's a lot of people in my space, you're going to put this out and probably everyone's going to pile on, but I mean, I don't care. There comes a point in your life where you need to start telling the truth. I like Joe, and if I didn't think these things about Joe, I would say that. But I really like Joe. I think he's a great guy, and I think he's a man of integrity. Do I agree with everything Joe says? No, of course not, because we're different people. Same goes for Jordan. Do I agree with everything Jordan says? No, of course not. There's times on Twitter where I'll be honest with you, I think Jordan's behavior leaves a little bit to be desired. But do I think Jordan is a good human being? Absolutely, yes, I do. Do I think he wants to make the world a better place? Yes. Do I think he has a positive vision for men and a positive message? Absolutely, I do. Do I think Andrew has that? No.
Not at all? I think it's a little more complex?
I think there are things that he says that are true and that are accurate. But I don't think Andrew's a good human being.
Because of his past?
Because of his past and because he refuses to acknowledge his past.
Well, he's a man that doesn't apologize.
Yeah, but that's not a man. Because if you're a man and you do something wrong, which we all do, then you should apologize. If I have hurt you, if I have upset you, and I'm in the wrong, then I'm not a man if I don't apologize. That's what it means to be a man. And when you raise your son, there are going to be times as a father where you upset him and you do things that are wrong. And it's important as a father that you model that behavior to your son and you say, I'm sorry. When I was a teacher and I got things wrong, I apologized to my class. I said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Because we're human beings. This not apologizing thing is a product of the internet where we destroy people who refuse to who apologize. And then we all get trapped into that Trump cycle of, oh, I'm never apologize, never back down. And look, I understand it because on the internet and on Twitter, they just want to destroy you. But if you've done something wrong, then you should apologize. Otherwise, what? Then we never move on. We never heal. So that's why I don't. That's why I don't like Andrew. That's why I don't respect him. That's why I don't think his message is positive.
You don't think he helps a lot of people?
Do I think he helps me? I don't know if he helps a lot of people or not. I just don't particularly, and I don't like the way he talks about women. He says women are stupid. He says women are lazy. Women aren't well, I mean, there are some women who are stupid. There are some women who are lazy, just like there are some men who are stupid, just like some men who are lazy. There's some women who work much harder than men. There's some women who are way smarter than men. You know? So, yeah, this idea, the his message, I don't find it particularly positive.
But don't you think he's much needed? That's why he has this kind of following and this kind of hype.
I don't think he's much needed.
But in a society where every man is softer and softer, and they want us to be female, you don't think he's like a product of that?
Yes, I agree. He's a product of that, but I don't think he's needed. I think we need somebody who is.
But who would that be?
Well, there's Jordan, like I said before. There's Joe. There's other people. I mean, I'm sure there's other people as well. I really like, what's his name? Goggins, I really like.
Oh, same.
Yeah, I love Goggins.
I love Goggins.
Yeah, Goggins is awesome. You know, when I go and work out, I work out, believe it or not. I mean, probably not to look at me, but, you know, I love,
Right. Every morning when I'm in the cold plunge, I listen to David Goggins.
Yeah, Dave Goggins is awesome.
Yeah.
I love Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
I love listening to Arnie. You go and do the weights. You lift. You grind. I love that.
I just
brilliant.
There's not enough.
Yeah.
That's why Andrew is like, I see what you're saying, but also I can just not demonize him because of his past. And there's just also I see the other side, which motivates me.
Yeah, of course.
Which drives me, like the Goggins side, where especially when you go to the gym or you gotta work out he makes me like stop victimizing myself and not being like, oh my God, my mental health and I need a therapist. He makes me, he's the only man that ever told me that you gotta be a man, and when life gets tough, then I have to be the one that holds the family down. I cannot be crying and getting in my emotional side and addressing how I feel. I need to do what's got to be done, and it's not about how I feel.
Yeah, look, and those are important, but
nobody else tells me that. Like, stop being happy. Be a man, like get things done. Like
Peterson told you that.
He does?
Yeah. Jordan does. Do you not listen to Jordan?
Not enough, I guess.
No, Jordan does. Jordan was all about that. That's what Jordan's message was. David Goggins is all about that. Jocko Willink is all about that. There's loads of people out there who've got a very positive role model. Very positive. We interviewed him. Dan Crenshaw talks about outrage, how outrage is weakness because it's hyper emotional. It's a very important point. There's lots of people there. The reason Tate is so big, you know why his content is so viral? I watch a lot of his stuff. I listen to him.
Probably because of the misogyny.
No. What he does is he financially incentivizes people to share his content.
Oh, yeah.
So if you share his content and there's a link to his what's it called, his whatever the real world is called, whatever his
it's like a pyramid scheme.
His basically his pyramid scheme, his content, his paid content, whatever you want to call it. If you share that and you've got your own unique code and you click on it, you'll get something like 40% of the revenue. So he's incentivizing his audience to continually share his content. He's very smart, Andrew. He's a very intelligent guy. He says things that are sometimes absolutely spot on and correct. But I don't think he's a positive role model. There was one clip where he was saying that a father only needs to see his children once a year. That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard in my life. That's going to give your son or your child a complex. Imagine you only saw your child once a year. Yeah. Would you feel like a good father?
Absolutely not.
What would that do to your child?
he would think the worst of me. I would
Yeah,
say.
you would damage that child for life. You damage it for life. So I'm not saying that Andrew doesn't make good points, because he does. I'm not saying that sometimes he doesn't say things and I think to myself, you have actually hit the nail on the head there. I'm just saying that overall, as a package, he ain't a good guy.
What about, does that, but like, look, that's what they do though. Him being deleted of every platform gives him this importance.
I agree with you.
Because otherwise I would be like, yeah, there's a lot of Goggins, but if Goggins would be deleted of YouTube and Twitter and lose all his accounts, I would be like, oh my God, like, where is Goggins? I need to find Goggins. I need to listen to him, because they suppress him.
Of course.
This suppression gives him even more importance.
Yeah, look, and I agree with you. I think the fact that they got rid of him on all the social media platforms, I thought was disgraceful.
Yeah. So,
and I don't think it works.
No.
And they like to pretend it works, but it doesn't.
More like the opposite.
Yeah, because you give him a glamour. Because everyone's like, oh, they've banned him because he's telling the truth.
Exactly.
It's a stupid tactic, and I'm not in agreement with it. And I think that he should be out there, and people should be free.
So people can challenge him.
Yeah, people can challenge him.
Yeah.
I think it's important that Andrew gets challenged. I think it's important that Andrew sits down with people, not like the BBC, who misrepresent him, but who go, Andrew, you said this. Can you defend that? It's important. It's really important. So I'm in complete agreement with you about deplatforming. I don't think it works. I think what it does is give, like I've said many times, it gives people a glamour that they don't deserve. And people are still going to search his content. We've proven it for ourselves. And even if they have deplatformed him, people are still going to share his content. So, and he talks about being free speech as well. That's a load of nonsense, because he also helped to cancel a YouTuber in the UK called True Geordie because he made a joke about Islam. So Andrew can... He's not... Look, he's not who he says he is. Be aware of that.
Do you ever self-censor?
Of course. We all do. You know.
What do you think about that?
What do I think about self-censoring? I think sometimes it's an act of self-preservation and you need to do it, because there are times in life where it's not a good idea to actually just come out and say the truth, because there's a social situation. But I think more and more that the more that we self-censor and the more that we stop ourselves from speaking, the more we don't address a problem. If you think about a problem, unless you're prepared to talk about every facet of the problem, you're never going to solve the problem. If you've got an issue, whatever the issue is, let's say illegal immigration, for example, unless you're going to talk about every single facet of that issue, you're never going to solve it. Because you're only going to talk about 30% of the issue. Well, you're only going to solve 30% of the problem. And then there's the other 70%. And what do you do with that? So yeah, I think there is too much self-censorship. I think we need to be more honest. I think we need to start talking more openly. And we all need to be a little bit braver. Like, there's a lot of people who wouldn't criticize it the way that I did in this interview, because they're scared of him. They're scared of him, and they're scared that he won't grant them an interview or that his followers will come after him. And there's people on the right who are like that. It's not just people on the left. It's people on the right who are terrified of Andrew. And I think...
And the other way around as well.
Yeah.
People also might like him and say they don't like him.
Yeah, yeah.
To stay on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think about that every day now, because of when you do a podcast, you try to be as honest and have as much integrity as you can, but your truth constantly changes too. The more you educate yourself, the more you meet people, the more you have a discussion, my opinion about Andrew can change.
Of course. Right? And so it should change.
It should change. But so how do you Like how do you, it's so hard because then you censor because you're scared of the platforms, you're scared about other people's opinion or being deplatformed or losing your bank account. I mean, they go crazy these days.
Well, yeah, we got our bank account cancelled.
You?
Yeah. The bank says it's for another reason. It's that the bank we had a bank account
In the UK?
Yeah, in the bank. Yeah, you can look at this. We had a bank called Tide Bank, TIDE, like the tides of the sea, and they deplatformed us. They removed our bank account, and they said it's for one reason, but we don't know. There's been lots of people. There's a very significant political figure in the UK called Nigel Farage. I don't know if you've heard of him. Nigel was one of the main guys behind Brexit. They got rid of his bank account. They kicked because of his political views. So yeah, you're right. We are right to be worried. We're correct to be worried.
So what do you do?
You've just got to be brave. That's it. You've just got to be brave. That's all there is. And I wish I could give you another, oh, you've got to do, no. You've just got to say what you think and what you feel and live a life of integrity. That's all you've got. That's what a man is. Where your words match up with your actions. That's all you can do. And the chips fall where they may. And you can't control life. And this idea of being safe and having control, it's all an illusion. There is no control. There is no safety. You can make things safer, but you can't control anything. You can't control it. So just have integrity. Say what you think. Say what you feel. Don't lie and do your best. And the rest of it will take care of itself.
So when you go on the trigger pod, you're not scared?
No.
Of speaking the truth?
No.
Or doing something where you don't know the repercussion?
No. I used to be, but I can't.
Why did you used to be?
Because I had more to lose. The show wasn't as successful. And also I cared more what people thought of me. And I care less what people think of me now.
What happened?
You know, you see online people make up lies about you. And then you realize that a lot of people don't care about truth. They care about winning. They care about their side. They care about looking good. They have no interest in truth. So why would you care what those people thought? Those people are incredibly unimportant. They have no value. So why would you care of their opinion? It doesn't matter. What matters is the small amount of people who you love and you surround yourself with. Their opinion matters. And what's even more important than their opinion is the opinion that you have of yourself. And the most important thing is that you actually say what you think and what you feel. Because if you don't do that, then you regret it. There's nothing worse than being a coward. And we've all been a coward. I certainly have. And when you have been a coward and you look back at it, you don't feel good about yourself. When you know you should have said the right thing. You know you should have stood up. You know that you actually should have challenged somebody. You know you should have asked that girl out. But you picked the easy way. You picked the comfortable way. The times you feel good about yourself is when you stand up for yourself and you say what you think and what you feel. And if you're wrong, then at least you've got the opportunity for your opinion to be moderated and changed. What else do you have? You know?
So when did you stop being a coward?
I still struggle with it.
Or,
I think we all do.
of course.
I still struggle with it. There's still times where I still, sometimes I still work on it. Courage is a muscle. You have to work on it every day.
How do you do that?
By every day saying what you think and feel. And if somebody says something, going, I disagree with that. Here's why. It takes time and it takes a lot of work. And it's about, the problem with our society is that we want to be comfortable. We want to be comfortable physically, we want to be comfortable emotionally, and we want to be comfortable mentally. And the only way to grow is to be in a state of perpetual discomfort. And you've got to make that choice. You've got to make that choice to go to the gym. And you do, look at you, you're buff. So you've made that choice. I haven't made that choice enough, which is why I look like this. Before, when I was younger, I used to be buff, but I let it go. And I'm working my way back. But it takes time. And it takes time now because I'm older. But it's about accepting that you are going to be uncomfortable and feel discomfort. And that's the only way to improve. And that's the only way to change. And that's the only way to grow. Look at your son. Your son is learning to walk. He falls over. He cries. But what does he do? He gets back up and he carries on walking. And then pretty soon he's going to learn how to run. And then he's going to learn how to ride a bike. And he's going to make huge, huge growth at the beginning of his life. But the tragedy is there's a lot of people in their lives that when they get older, they stop growing because they start looking for comfort. And that means you make easy choices. And it's like the Chinese say, the easy path leads to the hard life, hard path leads to the easy life. So if you're making easy choices now, that's going to lead to a very difficult life in the future. And you've just got to make that choice every day. Every day. As hard as it is. Like, I'll be honest with you, Ken. I didn't want to come and do this podcast. I was tired. We had a problem with the Airbnb. Thank you for your patience. I was having to sort stuff out. We're moving but I promised you. So I came. And now we're having this conversation. I'm enjoying it. But it would have been the easy thing to cancel.
I know, I thought you would.
But I wanted to. But it wouldn't have been the right thing to do because I gave you my word that I would do it.
I know. And I was also thinking if you would want me to just be like, whatever. But I was like, no, I'll wait here until you're ready.
Yeah, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's important. I said I would do it, therefore I will do it.
Good.
And that's how you've got to be, And people go, oh, it's just a podcast. What does it matter? No, it matters. It matters because it matters that I came to do your show, that we can have a conversation that is honest and we share ideas and we listen to each other. But more important for me, it matters for me. And it matters for my producer. My producer is a young man and he sees somebody who he works with, who is effectively his boss, not take an easy route. And he's like, no. So then he learns as well, like, when I say I do something, I do it. Because also it's about respect for yourself. And if I took the easy route, and this is a very simple thing, I'm not trying to make it more than it is, I'm just using this as an example. If I take the easy route of not doing something, then I also let myself down. You don't want to do that.
And that makes everybody be more brave, I feel like. It makes me feel I need to be even more brave.
We all do.
And less of a coward.
I need to be less of a coward too.
Yeah.
I need to be braver as well. We all need to be
leading
brave.
by example is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I think about that a lot. Like, how can I raise my boy the right way?
Mm-hmm.
But it all comes down to there's so much personality in him that you, no matter how, like if you hit him or scream or do crazy violence or whatever, you'll never get that out of him.
Yeah.
It's much better to lead by good example.
Yeah.
And he follows you. If I live a healthy life in front of him, he looks at that and he's fascinated. If I go to the gym or eat healthy or how I spend my day, or if he sees me just on the couch looking in my phone, he will copy that.
Yeah. He will copy whatever you do.
Exactly. So it really comes down to leading by example, and it's much more impressive of you being the example for your producer and me than to tell me what I should be doing.
Yeah, because then it's easy for me to tell you what you should be doing.
Much harder for you to be doing what you should be doing.
Yeah, and it's much harder to go after what you want. It's much harder to create a YouTube channel, or do stand-up, or whatever it is that you want to do. Going after what you want is the most difficult thing. Doing what you want to be doing. And also being true and being honest and being true to your word and not taking the easy route, whatever it is. Whether it's not going to the gym, whether it's eating crap food, all of these things. So yeah.
And it's powerful. It's very powerful.
It is. It is. But people, people feel that off you. If you're someone who's a flake, who doesn't have integrity, who lies, people can read that off you. You know that type of person. You're like, oh. They go, why? You're like, I don't know, I just get the, ugh. You know what I mean? You feel it off people. You're like, oh, God. Do you like him? No, he's weird. It's a weird vibe, but there's a, ugh. So yeah, so I think that's the only way to be, Ken. I think that's the only way to be. And then once you accept that, and once you live your life like that, and then you realize that control is an illusion, and things happen how they happen, and you just have to do your best every day. And that's it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Cool. Ken, I think I'm going to need to go because we need to go and set up and sort out the Airbnb. But thank you for having me on the show.
Of course.
It's been a pleasure.
No, it was very powerful, and it was really cool to meet you.
Cool. Pleasure,
and
brother.
Thanks for giving me a chance, even though of this weird setup.
No.
When you came, you were like all weirded out.
No, I wasn't. I was just taking the piss. I was taking the piss, but I like it, and you've got to be true to you. If this is what you want to do, then be true to you. There's too many people in life who are trying to be someone else. If who you are is wearing a pink shirt in a room like this, then you be you, brother.
Well, the whole point is that I don't know. Every day I get to experience who I am.
That's the best way to be.
Yeah.
That's the best way to be.
Because I don't know. One day I'll dress like this. One day I dress like that.
Perfect. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks,
you.
Ken.